What's up, everybody? Hardest part of the ring is back with another delicious episode. Okay, I'm full disclosure here, guys. If I have a weakness in podcasting, it's how to start episodes. But man, that really sets the tone for the episode that we got for you today. We have a special guest on the podcast today to go over King of the Ring 2001. Kenny from the Kenny for Your Thoughts podcast. If you are not already listening to Kenny, I definitely strongly suggest that you give him a listen-ski, either on YouTube at Kenny for Your Thoughts. You can also find him on Twitter and Instagram at AKFYT Wrestling. And just a really fun podcast. You know, I strive, and that kind of goes into this episode. My goal here isn't to monotonally spit facts at you. I'm not trying to. I'm not all kidding aside, all business. That's not what this podcast is supposed to be. I got into podcasting because it's fun. I listen to all sorts of wrestling, comedy, TED Talks. I listen to everything, right? And ultimately, the key here, not to get into the weeds, because I hate when podcasters do that. Not to get into the weeds, but I just try to have fun with this. And I think this episode today is probably the most fun I've had podcasting. You can tell this episode is a little longer than my episodes usually are, but that's just because me and Kenny had so much fun. Just like, I don't know, man. I tried to keep it on the rails at the beginning, but ultimately I was just like, okay, this is what this fucking episode's gonna be. Unfortunately, I feel like he brought my true personality out, which may or may not drive you guys away, but we'll see. But yeah, really fun episode today. Like I said, Kenny for Your Thoughts podcast. Check that out after this. Listen to this first, you assholes. But yeah, King of the Ring 2001 occurred on June 24th, 2001 from New Jersey. And yeah, man, just a really good show. It kind of kicks off the invasion, which definitely a divisive topic there and a lot of missteps along the way. But, you know, there was some good stuff in the beginning. You have Booker T coming in. DDP is, he's there. He's doing stuff. No Sean Stasiak, though, so no cause to really pay attention yet. But, yeah, this show was just another, like a lot of these 2001 shows, really well-rounded. The main event, you got Stone Cold defending against Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. Heel Stone Cold at his finest. You also got a great culmination of the King of the Ring tournament this year. If you don't remember, the Final Four is kind of where this pay-per-view starts. We got Team Wreck. That's right. Rhino, Edge, Christian, and Kurt Angle. All are real-life friends, and I think that really translates well into a great story and some really good wrestling matches. In addition to that, you obviously got that legendary Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle street fight. And I mean, ultimately, man, Kenny will say this in the episode, but it's pretty much the Kurt Angle show. And that is not a bad thing at all. So I won't ramble anymore. Let's get to it. King of the Ring 2001 with ya boy, the hardest part of the ring, and Kenny from Kenny for Your Thoughts podcast.
Yeah, the 3.5-inch one.
Anyways, speaking of 3 inches, King of the Ring. I don't know. So you said, yeah, I don't have Brandon skills yet. King of the Ring. Did you were you able to catch a show?
So I haven't, but I've seen it often enough that I pretty much know what went on at King of the Ring 2001.
Yeah, there's honestly, I mean, 'cause I watched it back, and it was pretty much what I expected. Were you watching like live during this era?
Oh, so I was definitely like, to give you my backstory. I've watched wrestling since I was like 3, dude. So like anything from like 1989 all the way to today. Like if you tell me, have you seen it? I 100% saw it live. And then what's weird though is like, I don't know. There was this period in 1993 where my friends are always like, man, you know everything about wrestling. But for some reason, this one period in 1993, like I know nothing about, like for some reason, like I can't answer questions. And then I realized it's because I lived in England for 6 months and the time difference and stuff like that. So I was like, that was 93. So I was like, yeah. And I mean, they had the Lex Express going on. I was like, look at these fucking Americans.
Yeah, I unfortunately did not get to live through the Lex. Or I lived through it, I guess. But
that's a lame excuse. Just because you're not alive doesn't mean you can't watch something.
Look. I'm working my way through it. I just did a King of the Ring '94 episode with somebody. And
what? How much does this guy? How much does this fellow weigh?
Is he one of the wrestlers?
The best thing about Art Donovan, damn it, you should have given me that episode because I would have went off. The best thing about Art Donovan is how it's not even that he didn't know shit. It's about how he didn't know shit. Like he comes out, Lex Luger comes out. He's like, look at him. He's like, made in the USA, Lex Luger, the American pride, the pride of the American people. And then Art Donovan, who's the fella in the American flag? It's like, son of a bitch. You couldn't connect the dots right there.
It's like, dude, they have
Art Donovan, that's Lex Luger. Yeah. Like the fuck, man.
My favorite part is that they're like trying to like get him involved like in the beginning of the show. Macho and Gorilla are, and like literally like 5 minutes into the show, they're just like,
they give up.
This.
Yeah, and I don't know why they decided that Art Donovan should commentate the whole event. That's what really confused me, because it was like just one match. Just have him do the King of the Ring final, and like it would have been fine.
Have him be a fucking special guest bell ringer or something. Like they have him there. They're in Baltimore, so they want some local flavor for the local audience that can't hear him.
What? Let me ask you. I didn't even think about that. They can't hear his damn commentary, and then not only that, what football player is known for their speaking skill?
Not in a good way. Nobody.
Maybe like LT and stuff, and
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss. But you get my point. Is like, as a general rule, football players are not talkers. You have him like run in and tackle somebody, but he's old by that point. So, but still, oh my god, horrible decision. Maybe
we'll run that back one day. King of the Ring '94.
What episodes is that on? I'll just be Art. In fact, here's what we'll do. I'll listen to the episode and I'll just do ad libs like Art Donovan that don't make sense in the middle of you two talking.
I love it.
So you two will be like, you'll be like, Owen Hart was a good, blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, who's the fella with the long shaggy hair?
It's like when movies put commentary in the background, like on DVD extras. It'll be like that, but for a podcast.
Dude, our first our third episode ever, to tell you how humble our beginnings were. Brandon decided to fuck up the recording. He didn't record it, and so he had to go back in and listen to the episode, which had someone else on it too, and he had to respond accordingly in every silence part and try to remember what he said. And that was the beginning of our podcast, because we recorded like 3 episodes right off the bat to kind of give people. And that didn't go over so well.
I'm just picturing Brandon like trying to organically transition.
Oh, it wasn't
like
good.
Record like, good point. Anyways, stop, record. And
dude,
he's
gotten so much better. As like, all jokes aside, Brandon has gotten so much better at like knowing when I'm trying to tell him something without telling him something. Like if I'm saying something, he knows like, okay, Kenny wants to move to the next topic.
Right. He's a good transitioner.
Yeah. He's definitely transgender. Very good. Very good transgender.
It's pretty much what I was saying. Yeah.
What was I going to ask?
Speaking of transgenders.
Yeah, what was I going to ask you? Hold on. I had a question for it, and I don't remember what it was.
3 inches flaccid, 5 erect.
Perfect. Thank you. That is exactly what I needed to know. Hold on.
You're welcome.
You cursing on the podcast? Yay, nay?
Fuck no.
Okay, I know. That's the answer I give people too. When they ask me that question, I'm like, "No,
Get that shit out of here."
I said, don't fucking curse on my podcast.
Yeah, no, that's all good. Let it all fly.
Cool.
So yeah, King of the Ring, man. It was this is kind of like my favorite era in wrestling because I was like 8 years old at the time, so I was like young enough to kind of be a little naive to things, but kind of old enough to follow everything. This is like the last, just like short story. This is the last pay-per-view I watched until I took a break. And I took a break because I got in a fight with a kid down the street. And my parents thought that the fight was because my aggression was because of wrestling, that I was watching too much wrestling. So they like banned me from watching wrestling for like 3 months.
What's your ethnicities? You're mixed?
Filipino.
You're Filipino. What else?
Like I'm like a quarter Filipino and mostly white. Other than that,
see, it's the white side because I'm a quarter white, so I can say this. So that's where the naivety came in because you see, my parents were ethnic enough that they were like, "Oh, it's in his blood to fight people." Like, because I'm half Malaysian, so I'm right next door to the Philippines, and then I'm technically, I guess, a quarter Guyanese and a quarter English. And oh yeah, definitely. My parents knew that aggression was in my blood, no matter what I did. So they never like banned me from doing anything. They knew if I like hit a motherfuckers just because he talked bad to me. Yeah,
it happens. I don't think my parents are, because my dad is like completely white.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, it sounds like a white parent. That's literally. I was like, it sounds like a white parent say that. It's the wrestling's fault.
Exactly. You Malaysians are the aggressive.
Dude, we're like tribes people, bro.
I was trying to think of a slur, but I don't even know if there is.
I know. I can't think of a Malaysian tribe slur either.
I don't know. You know,
it's all good.
It is what it is.
Wherever Speaking of Malaysian tribes, too.
Fuck, where are we? Where are we now? King of the Ring, 2001. Yes. No Art Donovan, but still a good show, regardless.
Amazing show.
Really good show. I think it was kind of like the last good Attitude Era pay-per-view, in my opinion, because this really kind of kicks off the Invasion. With Booker T coming in at the end and stuff.
I'm actually offended at that because I really liked Invasion.
You know, I'm still.
You actually took a break at a wrong time because to me, Invasion was actually like, I remember getting excited more for Invasion than I did WrestleMania that year, which is crazy because it was one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time.
Yeah. Well, were you a WCW watcher?
I was, but I wasn't. I was definitely a WWE fan. So I was not a WCW. Like I wouldn't have I'd have put on Raw before I put on Nitro.
Right. Yeah. I never, for whatever reason, I just never watched Nitro or didn't watch ECW, didn't watch anything except.
No, I was definitely bisexual when it came to wrestling.
Yeah, just wrestling though, right?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll cut that part
out. Wait, we're recording already?
Yeah. It's not live. Don't worry.
It's all good.
I mean, I'm going to keep this all in.
I was going to say, I don't know if you listen to my podcast, I definitely am not like a edit things out kind of person. Like I say whatever stupid joke comes to mind and that's about it.
No, yeah, absolutely. Especially when I do podcasts with other people, I pretty much just, but yeah, man. So King of the Ring 01, I did take a look back at it. I think it was last week. And I pretty much met my expectations as far as what the show was. Yeah, the Invasion, like I said, I wasn't into WCW. So the Invasion wasn't as like a big deal to me. It was like kind of, who the fuck are these guys? I knew Goldberg. That's pretty much the only guy I knew from WCW, and there was no Goldberg. So I'm not going to be over here getting excited about Mike Awesome and Sean Stasiak. So
what? Come on now. They were definitely main eventers in WCW. The Fat Chick Thriller and the Mr. Perfect ripoff. Come on now.
And Meat. I was a big Meat fan.
Who didn't love Meat?
You know who Meat is, right?
I absolutely know who Meat is with Terry Runnels and PMS as they were called.
Of course. Hall of Fame stable.
Don't offend me like that. Meat was I had a poster of Meat up on my living room in my parents' house.
Is it had or have?
I can't deny that it's there. I can't confirm that it's there. Okay.
You just can't come to grips with getting rid of it.
Let's just say I'm not a vegetarian.
I was just gonna let that sit for as long as I
Let
could.
that marinade. Wait, let that marinade. Like
we're
any
having
good,
fun.
like any good meat should.
Aren't we all having fun here?
Never put us in a room together again because this is horrible.
God
This
damn
is
it.
this is the worst thing we've ever done for either podcast. All right,
You said you did not want this podcast to go 3 hours long, but goddamn
here
it,
we are. But we're having too much fun. This is the thing.
It's
I don't. Let me full disclosure. I don't like when it goes 3 hours long and it's monotone. When it's like people having fun and you don't want to take it off. Like that is completely a completely different vibe.
Yeah, I've listened to 5-hour podcasts before,
Right.
Not at once, but eventually.
Right. But but then you get the hour monotone of like King of the Ring 2001 was an event where
held in
a
New
lot
Jersey.
of happened, and I'm like, okay, can we wrap this one up, please?
Yeah, that's actually like my first couple podcasts were like, because nowadays I do like this retro stuff, but back then I was doing like, this is what happened on Raw, this is what happened on SmackDown, and I would go through the whole week, and I was boring myself doing it.
But you see,
It's
you had the wherewithal to the same thing with me. It was like we used to recap every show, and I would get irritated if we missed something on the show. And like now, it's almost like as long as it sounded entertaining, and even if I talked about nothing, you know what I mean. That's a lot better than 2 hours of me talking about the show.
Exactly. Like you and Brandon are not the most informative duo, but
Right.
you're entertaining.
And that's kind of like, that was by design. And that was like, I was like, how many people are informative out there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the reason, and I hate to point out this example, because I think if you listen to my podcast, I hate him. But there's a reason why JD from NY is successful. As controversial as he is that people are entertained by how worked up he gets. And it's like, he doesn't necessarily need to recap stuff. He just needs to give you his opinion. So it's like, we give you our opinion, and we assume that you've watched the show. And if you haven't, we explain little tidbits,
Exactly.
It's like a sports center. It's like a sports center type feel.
You do the highlights. You don't go into the weeds with it.
Like, why am I going to talk about X-Pac on the King of the Ring 2001? The hell am I talking about X-Pac in this event?
Oh, we're going to talk about X-Pac.
I know.
We're going to do a deep dive on X-Pac. Okay. You know what? Are you this is a very divisive subject that I've gotten into with a few people. Did you like X Factor or no?
So I was pretty indifferent to X Factor. I was actually pretty indifferent. So I liked the 1, 2, 3 kid growing up. So I liked X-Pac per se. I liked him in DX. So I almost gave him a chance, but he disappointed me. It's that sort of thing. He's like the kid that, like my kid, where I'm like, look, I'm not angry. I'm just really disappointed in you. Yeah.
But Uncle Cracker, though.
I got everything I ever wanted. I'll never give that back.
That's a good point. I didn't really think of it that way.
Yeah. I mean, come on now. I actually really liked that song too at the time.
Dude,
looking back, I hate myself for it, but yeah.
It's amazing. It's not on the network, which irritates me. It was on the pay-per-view, but like on the Raws and SmackDowns in between, they replaced it with some generic, like almost sounds like it. Like an instrumental version almost.
I actually like the song afterwards, which you don't know about because they started using it circa Invasion time period. So that was when it was just Albert and I think it was just Albert and X-Pac, which that's definitely like if there was a time to break up a group, it was then, because it's like you already were sucky as a trio. Now you're just X-Pac and Albert. But yeah, that song afterwards was actually pretty badass, believe it or not.
How'd that go?
You want me to do an impression of it?
Yes.
It was like yeah, that's my impression of it.
I think that's the version they replace Uncle Cracker with on the network. From what you just did, it sounds very similar.
Yep, that's definitely the next song.
I think this episode should actually be us just humming various theme songs.
I mean, come on, people need to sleep sometime.
Exactly.
So why not listen to us just do weird, random, ratchet type noises?
I'd say ASMR, right? I think that falls under the umbrella.
I don't know if you can even hear that.
I did.
It is raining outside though, so if you just hear like if you hear just a lot of water and me just sounding gurgled, please send help. I'm probably being washed away in the Florida rains right now.
It's not you getting hot and bothered by my sweet buttery voice.
Nope, no WAP over here.
That's unfortunate. Speaking of wet pussies, King of the Ring 2001.
Wait, what about Matt Hardy?
He is wet. He's a very moist.
It was just the first. I know it was the first match, so that's why I was like,
yeah.
Nothing against Matt Hardy.
Hold on. Was he even on the show?
Pretty sure he was on the pre-show or something, if not the first match.
I don't watch Sunday Night Heat. I'm not going to go and watch 2001
Sunday Night Heat. I'm pretty sure he defended the European title against.
I bet he did
against Justin Incredible of all people.
Yeah, man.
Talk about X Factor. There it was.
That is, man. He is incredible, isn't he?
Oh, I don't even. I want to like Justin Incredible. He's like one of those guys. I liked his ECW stuff, so it's like I almost can't make fun of him. But oh my god, Justin Incredible.
You see, I've only seen him in WWF, so that is
that's horrible.
Incredible is.
Yeah, you saw a jobber. That's kind of like seeing like who EC3. Like if you only had EC3 based on his WWE career, that's pretty much what it was. Justin Incredible was like important everywhere else, which is crazy.
I'm working my way there, man. I'm doing these like retro reviews from the mid '90s. Like I said, I did the King of the Ring '94, and I'm working my way, and eventually going to start incorporating ECW. So hopefully it ages well. I'm gonna be very disappointed.
Unlike Justin Incredible, who hasn't aged very well. But anyway,
did he lose all his hair?
How do I respond to that?
You don't. Fuck, man, where do we even go from here? So
Kurt Angle. Let's talk about Kurt Angle.
No. This is my podcast, motherfucker.
You said the first match. You said the first match.
That's not where the show starts. The show starts with DDP.
Oh, yes. I totally forgot about that. Oh, this whole stalker angle. Oh, no wonder you left. Oh, my God.
I'm going to go watch baseball instead.
I blocked this out. It's a painful memory for me here.
And again, I didn't watch WCW. So to me, for the longest time, the DDP was just the stalker guy. To me.
And DDP was like The Rock in WCW. As in, like, he was they literally called the People's Champ. He was the first People's Champ. Would go out in the crowd, do stuff. It's crazy to think that he got brought in with this storyline.
It's good. That's some good stuff. He's invading the WWF. Don't mind his entrance music is Titantron, and don't mind the fact that they let him in the ring. But no, he's invading.
No. This was, correct me if I'm wrong. This he had on Raw maybe like a week or two before had finally revealed himself. That's when he came out and he like took off the mask and he was like, "Oh, you never saw it coming." So he was kind of introduced at least at this point. So we at least had a reason for why he would have music. I guess.
I believe that segment ended with security like chasing him out, though, if I remember correctly. This was a few weeks ago when I watched this. So
you are kind of right, because then it's like, why would a WCW guy have his own entrance video and entrance music?
I think that's just an omen for what the invasion would end up being. It only got better. No,
much better. Much better.
But actually, now I'm looking at my notes here, and I guess in his promo in the beginning of the show, he's like, "Don't worry, security. Undertaker made sure I had access to the arena," or something to that effect. So I guess that's how
he explains it in kayfabe.
They tried. I guess.
Undertaker made me get entrance music.
Yeah, he probably produced it too. He's probably back there with Jim Johnston.
At least
some vaguely similar music to his WCW music.
I was gonna say, at least it didn't sound like Nirvana.
Man,
people forget. Better. People actually forget. By that time, DDP was actually using a different theme song, which his WWE song is kind of based off of. So yeah, a little tidbit for you kiddos over there who wanted to know about DDP's theme music. I know you stay awake at night wondering what themes he used.
I know I do. I only remember his TNA theme, to be honest.
Which was a ripoff of the Nirvana "It Smells Like Teen Spirit" song.
It sure was. If that's not TNA in a nutshell, I don't know what is.
Let's rip off the ripoff.
Exactly, but it's been ripped off so many times that nobody's going to even notice.
It doesn't even sound like the same thing at this point.
Exactly. So
In
now
fact, it
it's
sounds
unique.
like an old Cisco song.
I think that fits old Dally there.
That
I
thong
guess his
song,
full
yeah,
name.
that thong fits
Hmm.
Dally.
But yeah, good little deal there with DDP. Going to get his ass kicked later. Which brings us to the first match: Kurt Angle versus Christian. So if you don't remember, so the King of the Ring was the final four on this show, not like the final fucking 16 that there was in 1994, which they had to have like 2-minute matches.
Yeah, I thought this was good. I thought that being just the final four was like a good change of pace as opposed to like previous King of the Rings that were like they try to fit the whole tournament in one night, and then like you said, if things go awry or a match goes long, the next match is a run-in finisher and pin, and it's like, what the hell just happened?
Legitimately, you give X-Pac and Owen Hart 2 minutes, but you give Yokozuna and Crush like 25 minutes.
Yeah,
because they're in a tag title match, but whatever it is.
Yeah, that's criminal, first of all.
It's insane. But yeah, I agree. They did. I do love the setup here with the Final Four, and especially considering all four of these guys are kind of intertwined in some way.
Yeah. They were Team Wreck, or they unofficially, mind you, they were never official stable, but they used to call themselves Team Wreck, which is Rhino, Edge, Christian, Kurt Angle.
That is true. I didn't know. I forgot Rhino was included in that. I thought they were just kind of friends of Christian and
Where
Edge.
the hell did you think the R came from?
Really cool. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought it was Eck. In fact, as we're talking right now, I do think it's Eck.
No. It was Eck. So here's the thing. There was a Team Eck, which they allude to on Table for Three, but there was a Team Wreck as well when Rhino got added. So there's both. We're both right. Okay, we were both right on this. I promise you.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google this after. And
hey, what do you know? You stopped watching around this time.
Okay, I was watching this at this particular pay-per-view. I was watching. It was not until I think it was actually after Invasion.
I will bet you good money. I will put my podcast good name on the line and promise you there's a Team Wreck.
Okay, yeah, that's bold. Yeah, I hear you clicking. You're Googling it now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm typing in Team Wreck right now. Hey, look, Team Eck, later known as Team Wreck, was a professional stable. And where'd that R come from?
Yeah, did you create that article?
I did.
Just now?
I did.
You've been typing that up as we've been talking, haven't
you? Yeah. I got nothing better to do with my life than be right about everything.
Too bad this is being recorded right now. It's going to be very embarrassing for you.
If you could edit this out, that'd be nice.
We'll see what we can do. A little money on the table. So yeah, Kurt versus Christian is the first match here. I thought it was a really good. Because this is kind of like the first time Christian and Edge are branching out on their own, really. So I think Christian more than held his own with Kurt here. Kurt wins with fuck man. How does he win? He wins somehow. Shane gets involved because Christian gives him the unprettier, gives Kurt the unprettier, goes for the pin, and then Shane McMahon comes out and pulls Christian off of Kurt. And the reason he does this is because they had that infamous match later in the show, and Shane is trying to tire out Kurt, trying to get him fatigued so that he can kind of bring him down to his skill set, I guess. So that's what leads to Christian losing here. Kurt wins, moves on. And fun little tidbit here. Kurt actually got a concussion during this match. I thought his concussion was in the fucking street fight.
I thought it was in the street fight too. Yeah, so that's news to me.
It was because I watched the they did a really good Untold series on this match on the network. And yeah, I learned that there. It was just a random ass belly to belly that Kurt gave to Christian, and the way his head hit the mat. Concussion City.
He did used to kind of like throw his neck back when he was earlier on his career to kind of really bridge with those. So I can definitely see why he would like get a concussion just landing on the top of his head or the back of his head there. It's crazy.
He's an animal. He goes full throttle, and the fact that he has 3 matches on this show and he's still putting out a really good match.
Oh, I was gonna say that later on. This is definitely Kurt Angle's event. This whole pay-per-view because three matches.
Dude, yeah. And crazy. Not pacing himself at all. I mean, this is probably like a 10-minute match, about maybe a little less.
Yeah,
but
this I think like at least 8-9 minutes around that there. And yeah, he gave full matches. This wasn't like, any squashes or any like shenanigans or anything. Like he gave full matches all night.
Absolutely.
And that we'll get into it, but the street fight was like the length of 2 matches.
Yeah. insane, but it didn't feel like it because it was entertaining
No,
pretty much the whole
not
way
at
through.
all. Not at all.
Speaking of entertaining, we got some Rhino action coming up for you. Rhino versus Edge. Pretty good match here. I don't remember Rhino being as awesome as he was. I remember hating Rhino for some reason.
Going to point it out. I was actually going to point out that I don't think Rhino gets a fair assessment in WWE because of his neck injury in 2002. He got derailed from there. But it was like Rhino was looking pretty good for a while. Like he was about to be the next guy. And he later on would go on to like feud with The Rock, like, and make him look like, you know, The Rock would sell his gore like $1 million. So I think Rhino was supposed to be a world champion in WWE. And a lot of people were like, what are you smoking? But you watch that period back, just like you said. And it's like, you could tell that they had some faith in Rhino.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's involved with, you know, the Stone Cold and Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit, who at the time are obviously on top. So I always thought, you know, thinking back to this time period, I always thought Rhino was kind of a lower card guy. And he did spend a lot of time, you know, as like hardcore champion and stuff. But even that, I mean, he made that title his own. That, I don't know if you've seen this match or you remember this match. Backlash 2001, Rhino versus Raven. It's like a 10-minute match, but it's one of the best matches you'll ever see. It's a hardcore match, but that is like one of my favorite matches ever.
Yeah, and that was post Mania 17. So yeah, definitely good match. Raven is another guy who was pretty damn underrated in that time period too.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's still around during this time. I think he's not around too much longer. I don't remember if he sticks around during the Invasion. Does he?
He did. That's to tell you how bad he was booked, because Raven was definitely in the Invasion, but he fell to the wayside as opposed to some of these bigger stars. And I think if Raven had been given the ball for the ECW side of things, I think he could have made the Invasion a lot better than it was. Yeah. I think they focused too much on WCW, and they had some heavy hitters on the ECW side. RVD, for example, that they did kind of pull the trigger, but kind of didn't. But anyway,
more so than really anybody else. Him and Booker T are really the only guys, because they like take WWF guys and just put a WCW label on them. I think they did that with Test, Kurt Angle, Stone Cold. It just got really silly shit.
So convoluted at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, like you said, if they just use their homegrown talent, like you said, the Ravens, the Rhinos, even guys like the Dudleys, who are original ECW guys, I think if they took that approach.
They did. They did, but they half-assed it. They did this whole again. You might not have seen. No, you were watching around because it was when they turned maybe the next week or so, and ECW entered the Invasion, and it was kind of like that was the next month, so you missed it.
So I think I was like, I did watch the Invasion. It was like mid-Invasion that I stopped watching.
Gotcha. I mean, I get it. I get it though. It was executed so poorly.
I think it's just the expectations that everybody.
It was like that girl that I always wanted to go out, and then I went out with her, and I was like, "Wow, you really you just do not click."
Like Hulk Hogan? Is that the girl?
I went out with Hulk Hogan, is what you're trying to insinuate? I live in Tampa, but I mean, me and Hogan. Look, I can't confirm nor deny that me and Hulk Hogan have had relations, brother.
I mean, you know, it is what it is. His track record isn't as great as it should be. So
I mean, he put me over. That's all I'll say.
And he doesn't put anybody over. So
yeah, exactly. There you go. Thank you. Dang, picking up what I'm putting down. I like it.
I smell what you're stepping in. So, Edge versus Rhino, good match. Spear versus Gore.
Wait. Hold on. Let me sidebar. How the hell did we go from talking about Edge and Rhino to talking about Hulk Hogan? Where'd that come from?
I think there's a horn on a Rhino, which transitioned into Hulk Hogan and his genitalia or something.
Something like
that. I have to go back and revisit.
Rewind the tape. Rewind the tape. Somebody tweet me and explain it to me, because I'll never make sense of it.
This is why I need a chat. I need a live chat for people to let me know on that.
Absolutely.
Edge wins with a little impaler action. Again, really good match. I think these guys gelled really well together. I think all four of these guys, I mean, obviously they're friends, so there's like an innate chemistry there, which, I mean, every match in this tournament on the show was good, I think. What about
Absolutely. You? No, I can't. This is one of those events where I could just watch it because it's such a good event. And I can't think of like anything good per se. You know what I mean? Because it's so good that it's like it's just a good event.
Yeah,
Besides the street fight stands out.
I was about to say I think King of the Ring 2001 is always going to be the street fight show between Kurt and Shane for me.
Yeah, it's Kurt Angle show, like I said.
Nothing wrong with that. And the next match is a match I completely forgot about. Dudley's versus Spike and a mystery partner. So this is like pretty shortly after the Dudleys turned on Spike for titty fucking Molly Holly or whatever he did. And then I
mean, can you blame them?
I mean, you know, good on you, Spike. Give her that Spike. Anyways, so Molly is kind of the source of this match because the Dudleys are pissed that Spike, his head isn't in the game because of Molly, and
because his head's inside Molly Holly, right? I got you.
I mean, it could be. He does have a small head, so it's not as far fetched as some may think.
His little Spike Dudley.
Oh, do you think that's how he got his name? He probably has a big piece. Spike Dudley strikes me as a guy that's packing.
Look, I'm just saying, if the good Lord is going to make you that small in stature, he's got to give you something else.
He never wore trunks, so he always wore kind of baggy pants. So I think he's hiding something.
I actually heard that he auditioned for the role of Meat, and they couldn't give it to him because the censors on TV didn't appreciate it.
I can see that. It's too on the nose.
Mm-hmm. Well, two on the crotch, I guess.
Speaking of crotches, Spike's mystery partner is Kane. Who doggy? Man, I love Kane in this era. I think this might be one of my favorite Kanes.
He was a whore during this era. He just went around with anybody and everybody.
Yeah, a little bit of Taker, a little bit of Spike, a little bit of who else he teamed with? I don't know, probably somebody else. But he was IC champion at this time, and he has had, because I've been watching all the Raws and SmackDowns leading up to this, right? And man, he has some good fucking matches as Intercontinental Champion. Him and Albert had just like a random ass match on SmackDown, and it was like awesome.
This is actually, in my opinion, this is actually Kane in his prime. He was at his prime physique, prime work. Granted, I don't think he was given the best storylines at this time, but like this was definitely Kane in his prime.
For sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Maybe, I mean, you got to have a soft spot for original Kane. I think that's probably when he was.
See, but to me, that was him on the come up. He was still unsure of himself. He's still, you know, even though he made it work. Don't get me wrong, that was amazing character work. This is what I mean is like at this time, it was very clear his position in the company. It was very clear that like he could be given the ball and run with it and make anything work. And I feel like they should have given him the title around this time, and he would have. But you know, he got lost in the shuffle again with the whole invasion and and injury.
Yeah, exactly. And he was having a program with Triple H, and then he got injured, and it was a whole thing. It was a whole hullabaloo. But
and he came back. Fun fact: then he came back at August 26, 2002, the night after SummerSlam, and little Kenny, 13 years old, was there, and the video came up, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's coming back tonight!" And everyone's like, "Why?" And I said, "It didn't say that the fire still burns." I was like, "It left it open. He's coming out now." And then sure enough, like as I'm saying it, goes. And he comes out.
Was that Kane or Rooney night?
That was Kane or Rooney night. Yeah, that was. And then I went flaccid very quickly when that got busted out.
That was exposed chin Kane, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I didn't mind that outfit. It was just like they made him hokey during that time and like made him do all the silly stuff.
Yeah,
like,
it's just associated with Katie Vick and who I don't even remember else he did. He was kind of lost in the shuffle even that era, I think.
Yeah,
outside of his.
That's what I'm saying. Like poor Kane. Like I never really got. By the time they gave him the ball to really run with it, it was like he was past his prime. And that's no offense to him past his prime is still better than 99% of people. But it was almost like why didn't they like give the ball to him at this time when Taker was like slowing down in his American Badass role, and you can give him and make him the scary monster, which I guess they did in 03.
I was about to say that's probably like you could also make an argument that was peak Kane too, because. I mean, he was just because masked Kane, it's like, okay, he's kind of cartoony. He's kind of pro wrestling, but then Kane takes his mask off and he becomes like this legitimate psychopath.
How crazy is it that it took him taking the mask off to look scarier?
That's what I'm saying.
That is,
Dude,
that's credit to Glenn Jacobs, because it's like the fact that he, he had all this character to work with, and it took stripping him of the character to make him a scarier monster than he was. That's some talent. That's great talent.
God, yeah. It was because I remember watching that and being absolutely horrified of Kane. I mean, growing up, I was afraid because I thought he was in my closet when I was going to bed. I thought him and the Undertaker were gonna abduct me when I went to bed.
They don't look like the abduction type, though. They look like the set you on fire and leave you. Ah, you're right. Where to, Stephanie? Literally,
I remember because I watched that. I was by myself for whatever reason. I was probably 6 years old or something. It was thunderstorming. I was in the living room by myself, and I'm watching Undertaker abduct Stephanie. And from that point on, I was terrified of being abducted.
I was just going to ask you, to this day, do you have like an irrational fear of being like abducted?
I mean, I probably take more looks back than a normal person does.
Yeah.
I probably, and more.
I'm afraid of snakes. I'm afraid of snakes because I vividly, same thing. I snuck downstairs 1991 and 91. Wow, crazy. I was like 2 or 3 or something. And I saw Jake the Snake set a snake on Macho Man, and to this day, like I flinch a little bit when I see snakes.
I get that. I I brought Jake the Snake Robert up to my girlfriend. This is like when we were first starting dating.
First of all, there's no way someone like you has a girlfriend. So I don't believe that.
It's not made up. Just don't ask any more questions.
She's also in the closet. That's what it is. No, she's a blow up doll in your closet. That's the only logical explanation.
She may or may not be a mop. I cannot confirm nor deny.
Well, okay, Perry.
It's like the era we're in now too.
It is. Yeah.
I brought Jake the Snake Roberts up to her, and I was like, "You know why they call him the Snake?" And she looks at me and is like, "'Cause his penis." I'm like, no, what?
I mean, granted, look, I'm just saying, if he was like a porn star or something,
it's an easy transition,
right? 100%. I can see where she's going. Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much the Ron Jeremy of the World Wrestling Federation, which probably is a bad name to bring up. Actually, now that I think about it, because I just remembered what happened with him about last week.
Yeah, it was a rough one for old Ronnie boy. I don't know how we went from Kane to Ron Jeremy. But
again,
I think that happened.
These transitions are really, really cool. I mean, we go from Rhino to Hulk Hogan. Now we've gone from Kane to Ron Jeremy.
It's a very eclectic episode of the Apron Bump.
Welcome.
I don't know who won this match. Who cares?
Really. This match.
The Dudleys won with the 3D, etc., etc. Then they go to I'm not going to go into every single segment on the show, but I just thought it was funny. The WWF New York. Everyone always seems pissed that they're there, and it's usually kind of subtle. But in this instance,
you know why?
Billy Gunn was there. Why is that?
You know why? Because I went to WWF New York, and it was like not as good as a lot of people would think. It was like really dingy and dark, and it was like a nightclub vibe. And then you got to understand, these wrestlers, instead of being told, "Hey, you're going to work the event," they got sent to shitty, dark WWF New York to stand there and look excited about it.
Right. Exactly.
So, horrible.
Billy Gunn hadn't even been like on TV in weeks. Like literally it panned to him, and I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot Billy Gunn's there." And he's like he's the defending King of the Ring from 2 years ago. He wasn't in the last one because he was injured. But shit, man, he wasn't even in this tournament at all.
Yeah, but holy crap, the character at this point, the one Billy Gunn.
It has some good theme music though.
Yes, say theme music be damned. The Mr. Ass song was a lot better. They used the same singer, but
it's kind of the same.
No. Go listen to the one Billy Gunn song and tell me it doesn't sound like an 80s freaking sitcom.
I mean, is that a bad thing though?
If you put it to the intro Full House, I promise it goes.
Man, if that hasn't already been done.
It has to. Whoever's out there wants to become famous and go viral, just do it. If it hasn't been done already.
It's going to get 0 views. Nobody wants this.
Wait, it's not my podcast.
Shit, what do we have after this? Kurt Angle.
So again, let's recap. So we're talking about WWF New York and somehow got into Full House.
Yeah, I think it's the seamless transition. You know, San Francisco, New York.
That makes sense. It's a place. They're both places.
Yeah. That is a good point. I didn't think of it that way, but it all makes sense. Everything ties together here. Speaking of tying together, we have the King of the Ring tournament all tying together here with the finals. We're having fun. Kurt Angle versus Edge. Again, awesome match. Still, Kurt is still not pacing himself, even though my boy is concussed and he has a brutal ass street fight coming up.
Let's also point out that like he's defending his title, right? Because he was wasn't he the previous year's King of the Ring?
Yep.
So he was so he was a 2000 King of the Ring. So I think it was like almost like we looked at it as like a lock that he would win this match because he was just so. This was a different Kurt Angle. I mean, he was just at the top of his career at this point.
Yeah, and going into this, he's on such a different level. Even though Edge, Christian, Rhino, they're all great, but like as far as hierarchy, on the
that's
roster,
kind of what I'm getting at. Is like I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that like we don't remember what Edge became, because at this time Edge was like a mid-carder at best.
He was still a tag team guy.
He was still a tag team guy, and this would be the equivalent of like like a Ricochet versus a Drew McIntyre or something. Like this was like, okay, very obvious who's going to win here kind of thing. And Kurt Angle was only in the business a year. You know what I mean? He'd won a world title already, a King of the Ring. But yeah, he was next level. He was up there. So I think we thought it was a lock,
Exactly. Honestly, I would have guessed that they would have went with Edge versus Christian for the final.
Right.
Which I'm surprised.
It was too obvious. I think it was too obvious, with where they were going with the storyline to kind of just put them against each other, because it was like they had a whole program to work matches against each other. They didn't want to like make it like boring at a certain point.
Right. Yeah. They kind of subtly drop seeds of a breakup that's imminent, but they're not heavy handed.
Right. Subtly dropping seeds. So it's like pre-cum, it's just like they just
dropped a little pre-cum onto Christian's chest. Man, what would this podcast be if I told you, hey, no cursing?
It would be
15 minutes long.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't get to talk like this in my podcast, and not because I'm like toning myself down, but because like you got to give it back to me for me to kind of throw it. Be able to throw it. This is fun. I like this.
Fuck, I was gonna say something and I forgot. Hold on, my cat is like destroying my door right now. I'll be right back. Go. Anyways.
Wait, so your girlfriend was tearing up the door and then you told, well, that was kind of mean.
And then I hit her and told her
to
clean the kitchen.
That's what I heard. And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, we'll edit this out though. It's fine. Just don't say anything. Man, what was I gonna say? Whatever. This probably wasn't important.
We're talking about Edge and Kurt Angle.
Yeah, just a couple guys jostling in the ring. That's what. So I think also Kurt being in the finals, I think stems from his match with Shane, because obviously Kurt's on such a higher level than Shane. So I think they want to kind of tire Kurt out in kayfabe and in real life, I guess, but to kind of handicap him in this match with Shane. I think that might have been the idea here.
And let's point out, I think this was like really good booking by WWE. Like, honestly, this is very underrated booking, because, we went from like, okay, Kurt Angle's going to beat Shane McMahon's ass to like, he's being worn down. The booking's making sense. Shane McMahon got involved. In fact, Shane McMahon let him advance just so that he could tire himself out, which is ingenious. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on right here. Even though it's one continuous storyline during the night. But they did it so well that, by the time we got to the Shane McMahon match, it's kind of like, okay, it all made sense.
Yeah, for sure. And another point I want to point out is that not only does Kurt have 3 matches, but like there's not a ton of matches on this show. Yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't have like 3 matches in between to rest up. There's literally like 6 or 7 matches on the show, and maybe another segment or 2.
Yeah.
So he has like so little downtime in between matches too.
Yeah, and these are quicker matches. These are like less than 10 minutes. They gave a lot of time to the last 2 matches. and rightfully so. But these are So basically, Kurt Angle's out there, wrestles an 8-minute match, 9-minute match, somewhere in that ballpark, gets to rest for like another 9 minutes, comes back out, does one more, gets to rest for about 20 minutes, comes back out, and then has to do another half hour. It's like crazy to think about. Like, he was dead. When you say next level, like, I don't think Rock or Austin could have done this,
No. Yeah, Kurt Angle is a machine. I don't think he gets... I think he gets credit, but I feel like he should be higher up on a lot of people's list. I think he gets kind of not thought about as often as he does, or as he should.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget, like, he had no business being as good as he was that soon. This was a year into his run.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think people forget that because it seems like he's so ingrained in what they're doing at this point. It feels like he's been there forever, but he's still a rookie.
Not only that, it's like the period in which he came. Like, he came in with The Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold. Like, he came in, had Benoit and Jericho. You know what I mean? Like, he came in with some like heavy hitters, and he still managed to find his way to the top.
Yeah.
Hardcore Holly. Come on now.
Oh man, just all the stars. All the stars.
Right. I forgot to mention the biggest one.
Essa Rios, all of them.
Essa Rios. Meat. I mean, let's not forget Meat. Beaver Cleaver.
Beaver Cleavage.
Cleavage. You're right.
Do you know anything about wrestling?
God damn it, Chaz.
God. You remember when the head not the head shrinkers. What were they called? The headbangers?
Come on, Mark.
What were they? They were the fucking
I'm calling you a Mark, by the way. I don't think that's your name.
I know. It's not
The Headbangers is their name.
Is it Headbangers? Remember when they randomly just came back in like 2016?
On SmackDown? I mentioned it actually the other day, and it was like crazy. I'm like, why did they come back? And freaking Spirit Squad. Spirit Squad came back during that time too.
I mean, Spirit Squad was at least like involved in a storyline that involved Dolph Ziggler. So it like almost made sense.
But, I missed that SmackDown. That SmackDown where they would just pull stuff out of their ass and see what sticks, and it worked.
That was an awesome period. SmackDown.
The glory days.
Let's just sit here and reminisce for a second.
Okay.
Thanks. Anyways. So, et cetera, Edge wins the King of the Ring. I guess they're just strapping the rocket on him here. Although it takes him a while to really click. Because this is like the first.
I loved Edge during this time, and even I was like, what the hell? Like, what are we doing with, yeah.
I didn't like Rob Zombie Edge.
Don't get me started on that. I know, so I'm a theme song guy. Like, I always, like when I was 9, I would like edit songs. Like, I could edit a WWE edit real quick and make a Titantron. Like, I was definitely that kind of guy. I mean, you could see it from my graphics on my podcast. Like, I've always been that type of person. And I never understood when you want to hear me sing a theme song. The Rob Zombie one started off, "You think you know me," and he went, "You will never know me." Yeah, my Durango. But for some odd reason, they took out that second quote, and it always pissed me off. It was like, what?
Remember that at all?
More so, like, why would you arbitrarily go back and say, you know what, that second quote doesn't belong?
I can think of a reason why. It's because it's stupid.
Damn it! What do you mean you will never know him? We know we've been here for years.
What does this even mean?
The fuck is a Rob Zombie?
Zombies in wrestling?
Fun fact, just because I remember stupid things. When they advertised that album around that time period, for a couple of weeks they called the album The Sinister Surge, and they fucked up because the album was called The Sinister Urge, and then they fixed it.
I don't like either of those.
Well, Sinister Urge made sense because it's freaking Rob Zombie.
I don't know. Is that... I'm not really up to date on Rob Zombie.
He was a very erotic vampire type guy.
What are his urges?
Whatever they are, they're sinister.
Yeah, I was about to say. Send some sinister ones. Do you remember Forcible Entry?
Do I remember Forcible Entry? I love that album. Wasn't Creed on that album?
Probably. That sounds like a thing that would happen.
I need to pull out the old Google ski
because I found it on Spotify. Because there's some old wrestling themes that I like to like work out to, And
I work out to Bull Nakano's theme song personally. Gets me hyped. The Tokyo Express theme song. Dun, dun, dun,
that's racist.
Dun, dun. Oh, it was 100% racist. It was.
You're not that kind of Asian to where you can do that.
But that's how the song went.
You're C Asian.
Yeah, I'm like the Spanishy Asian, not the like Asian.
That's what I say. I'm Filipinos are kind of like the Mexicos of Asia.
Yes, I always say that. We're the Hispanics of the Asian world.
Yeah, smelly and wet. Anyway,
got nothing to say there. Why am I'm ruining my brand by being associated with this podcast right now.
All the these MP3s are in my possession. I could do it with I could just have that.
MP3s, we're doing MP4s, brother. We're going all the way.
God damn it.
Oh man, forcible entry.
Nothing to get us back on track than X-Pac.
No. Can we move on?
Not only X-Pac, WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. And Jeff Hardy.
You forget that title still existed around that time.
You know what's funny? I do not at all remember Jerry Lynn being in WWF.
So actually, when we were talking about ECW earlier, I was actually going to mention, like, why the fuck did they have Jerry Lynn on Sunday Night Heat as opposed to putting him in the ECW roster? Like, whose oatmeal did Jerry Lynn piss in? Because they really did not did nothing with him. He came in, he beat, was it X-Pac he beat for the title? Like, right off the bat, he won the light heavyweight title, and then they did nothing with him.
Yeah, he was literally, I think he defended it in some random ass match on like Backlash. Might have been the pre-show even.
Fun fact, right? So the Hardy Boys theme song is a production song made by a guy named Zach Tempest. And he had another song on the same album that would go on to be Jerry Lynn's theme song. So Jerry Lynn's theme song and the Hardys, if they sound similar, that's why. If you think about it.
Jerry Lynn's theme song sounded like if you took the treble out of the Hardy Boys theme song. Yep, it was pretty bad. I didn't like it.
You're talking about the song itself, right? Not my impression. Pretty sure Hardcore Holly's song is the same.
Do you have like a fountain in the background or something?
A fountain?
Do you have like a stone fountain? It sounds like this. Oh, is it raining? You said it was raining.
It's definitely raining.
I hear just every couple, not every couple seconds, but every like 10 minutes or so, I hear just a couple dribbles.
I've also peed myself a couple times while on this podcast.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know like if you had wireless headphones and you're walking around.
No, unfortunately, I'm not housebroken, and I do pee myself from time to time. So, I mean, it is what it is. You move along. Luckily, there's no camera here.
It saves time, actually. Who needs to waste time walking to a bathroom?
And people pay good money for that on OnlyFans, so I figure I give them what they want. So,
believe me, I know that's my third tier. That's the $50 tier.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'm subscribed.
Golden showers. Hardest part of the ring. It all ties together, you know.
Speaking of golden showers, X-Pac.
There you go. Now he's getting the hang of it, folks.
Yeah. Transition back into it.
Fuck, man. Okay, it's a light heavyweight championship match, you know.
And it's Jeff Hardy. It's like this should be a good match, but I don't really remember it.
It was fine. I would have rather seen like 1994 X-Pac versus like 2008 Jeff Hardy.
So this was that weird time period where the WWF decided, like, we're going to pretty much put the Hardys separate. We're going to have Edge and Christian break up. So this was a weird time period. So because this is the first go around with the Hardys splitting up, but this one wasn't. This one was like a half-ass kind of thing. You know, you had Matt Hardy with the European Championship. Jeff Hardy would go on with the light heavyweight and then Intercontinental and stuff, but they didn't like fully split them, and they would come back together at like the Rumble 02 around that time period.
Did they? Because I don't even remember. Did they actually do a split?
No, this was like kind of like how the New Day gave the endorsement for Big E to kind of go off on his own. This was like a quiet, like, we're still the Hardy Boys, but we're kind of doing our own thing.
Which is so bizarre because this is fresh off of that TLC match at WrestleMania with, you know, the tag team division is as hot as it's ever been. and now
Yeah,
you're going to take
that's
2/3 of those teams and split them up.
there were some missteps here. There were definitely some missteps.
Yeah, it was. But don't worry, we got X Factor to hold down the tag division. So X Factor and Kai and Tai.
Hey, first of all, you don't talk about Kai and Tai like that. All right,
I'm not. I'm talking about them in a glowing way.
Choppy choppy your pee.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
No third tier for you.
No, not anymore. Can you keep people off of OnlyFans? I'm gonna find a way. I'll ban you.
Well, you don't know my screen name. Chunky Lover 53, by the way.
Well, now it's out in the open.
Well, I'm changing it to 54. So,
Oh man, I'll never find it then. It's very incognito of you.
thank you.
It's very retribution. What happens after this? Okay, so we get a little segment ski backstage in Commissioner Regal's office. So the whole thread during the show is because Vince McMahon isn't there in kayfabe, and this is a period of time where Stone Cold, heel Stone Cold, is like very reliant on Vince McMahon. He's like giving him hugs and like, dude, the build up to the show on like the Raws and the SmackDown, hilarious. I think heel Stone Cold doesn't get near the praise that he does for his comedic
underrated.
timing.
Underrated time period.
Deadpan delivery. He's like walking around with a petition because the main event is him versus Benoit and Jericho, which is kind of, in effect a handicap match, and he has to defend his title. So he's walking around with this petition, getting everybody to sign it because this match is unfair. And then you have Spike Dudley tears it up, and then he beats the shit out of Spike. It's a whole thing. But God, what do you think about heel Stone Cold? Because I feel like he gets a bad rap.
He does, because I think I get it. I get it because it's like, why he was the hottest thing in professional wrestling. It's like, why turn him? And then you have the argument of like, well, that's the time you do turn him because he was white hot. But if we're forgetting, like, forget the face Stone Cold, if we're just looking at heel Stone Cold objectively without all of that information, it's like he was a great character. I really liked it. I liked that he was like funny, and then he later on became like psychotic. You know what I mean? So it was like a really good development of like, they kind of progressed it on. And, this lends itself to Kurt Angle kind of stepping into that monster babyface role later on, and Stone Cold getting to take the brunt of it in the heel fashion. So, I mean, I think it served its purpose. You had the 2-man power trip and stuff around that time. I think Triple H getting injured derailed Stone Cold's heel character a lot, because I think that would have been like like, oh my God, how can you possibly get through these two men, Yeah. And, but yeah, I don't think heel Stone Cold gets enough love.
And they were teasing that too with Triple H, because at the previous pay-per-view, Judgment Day, because this is a point where they had all the titles. Triple H lost his Intercontinental Championship to Kane because Stone Cold fucked up in his interference, but then Austin retained his WWF title, and then they lost the tag team titles the next night. So, which was obviously the match where Triple H tore his quad. But the way that match ended, Triple H is kind of the one that caused them to lose. So it seemed like they were teasing.
Well, think about it like this. This was definitely like Sasha Bailey type vibes. If anybody, current fans want to understand the vibe that this storyline had, it was like you put these two stars together. And in their case, they were a little bit more of an odd couple where they weren't friends. They were like, their whole name was the 2-man power trip because they both wanted to be at the top. So they realized they could get there together as a tag team. But of course it was starting to fall apart with their egos. So I kind of think that, if Triple H had stayed around, this might have turned into Triple H's first, foray into the babyface role as a singles character like that. So I think that's where it was going, and they would eventually had a match. But so it completely derailed Stone Cold. He had no storyline almost after that.
Yep, and they kind of just threw in Benoit and Jericho. They thrusted them right into the main event, which they more than held them their own, especially because they both got title matches in the build up to the show. A couple of Raws in Canada, so they had the hometown crowd effect with them too. I think Benoit and Jericho really showed what they can do during this time period. And it's unfortunate. I mean, we can get into it later, but this is Benoit's last match before his spinal surgery.
Yep.
So, which is unfortunate. I didn't know that until after the show, which kind of sucks because he was kind of running on all cylinders during this point.
I knew this was the show. Yeah, this was the show that did it.
Yeah, a lot of broken bodies in this show.
This show is a show full of injuries. If you really pay attention to the card.
Yeah, but the biggest injury is DDP's ego, because the next segment is the. Do you like that? You like that?
I did. I like that a lot. Actually,
cool.
I popped the chub after that. Actually, to be honest,
I thought you were going to stop at popped, but then you made it a little better.
Oh, a little better is the key part to that.
There we go. He has a tiny penis, folks. DDP, Undertaker. Speaking of tiny penises, so Stalker, etc., etc. So DDP's been at ringside the whole show. Every once in a while after matches, they'll pan over to him. He has a sign that says "Make me famous" with a little arrow pointing down at him, basically trying to coax Undertaker to come out and fight him. I guess the premise here is that Undertaker's making him wait, making him suffer and the anxiety and all that. But it's at this point of the show where DDP finally gets in the ring, grabs a mic, and says, "Hey, Take, why don't you come out here and we can tussle?" So Taker obliges. He comes out with Sarah, his wife at the time, takes his time getting to the ring, puts on his gloves, and then just beats the shit out of DDP indiscriminately. So I think people try to push the Vince wanted to make WCW look bad a little too hard, but I feel like in this case, like, what else could be the purpose here?
I feel like DDP, if they really wanted to make him look good, should have gotten the best of Undertaker in a cheating way, of course. You know what I mean? Like poke him in the eyes or hit him with a low blow or something, run through the crowd. Like they could have done something, but yeah, he just got the shit beaten out of him. It's like at that point, and again, I'm, full disclosure, I would pick the WWF over WCW any day in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. But I was like, why do you make DDP, who is like one of the biggest stars WCW had? I mean, it really set the tone for the invasion right there, because it's like, you should have made WCW look so strong going into that when they lost, it would have meant something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this segment here, I mean, it didn't even have like a conclusive ending, because it ends with Undertaker giving DDP a big boot. DDP kind of like jostles out of the ring, lands on his feet on the outside, and just kind of runs out through the crowd. So it was kind of like a blue ball ending to it, even with that, because it had been such a built-up thing with all the Stalker videos and DDP revealing himself and sitting out there all show. It was this big built-up thing. It was like the first big star that's jumped over in the invasion. So I feel like people had a lot of expectations for it, and it ended up just being a very, very wet blanket of a segment.
I like that. I like that verbiage.
It's good. It's good. I thought about it a lot.
I know. I could tell that was prepared.
I have a script, actually.
I know. I'm kind of reading off of it right now, the notes that you gave me. So
yeah, you got them. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Now is now the time to put you over and mention how big you're. Anyway, never mind.
That's after the next segment.
Okay, great.
Don't get your timings fucked up.
Sorry.
I have it time stamped for a reason. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that, boss.
Okay. All right. That's cool. So now is the moment everybody's been waiting for. Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon. Who doggy? I like this match because, I mean, it was about what I remember it being, but when I kind of thought more about it, it made it that much better, because both these guys are out of their comfort zone in this match. Because Shane's, he's kind of a spot guy. He's a guy that jumps off of high things. He's not the guy that goes out there and wrestles, and that's exactly what Kurt Angle is. And at the same time, Kurt Angle isn't a guy that does gimmicks. He doesn't use kendo sticks and steel chairs and all that shit. So I feel like both those guys being on the same plane in that respect was a really cool element to the story. And God, what can you say? The obvious, glass not breaking when Kurt is trying to throw Shane through it. Shane calling him a pussy and making Kurt try extra hard. To
Oh
get
yeah, I
him through
mean,
the glass.
if nobody knows that, I think like you said, that was in the WWE Untold. Like
Yes.
he flat out when he was when Kurt couldn't get him through, he called him a pussy and basically was working Kurt Angle's ego. He's like, "Oh yeah," and then threw him. That's when he finally was able to get him through. So
And you can see it on his face too.
oh yeah,
as you're
he
watching
was
it.
pissed. He was pissed. Obviously he was going to be pissed anyway since he was messing up. But yeah, Shane just took it to a completely different level.
Yeah. And for anybody that doesn't know, the reason the glass didn't break is because it was reinforced to withstand the pyro
Mhm.
that was in front of it.
The pyro from the beginning of the show, like, and all that heat, so they reinforced it so that literally it wouldn't just crumble like sugar glass would.
Exactly. I guess the memo didn't I guess it got lost in the UPS car because it did not get to Shane or Kurt. Or maybe it did and they just said fuck it, let's try it anyways. That's some shit that Kurt would do, I think. But
Sounds like it.
yeah, man. So obviously, dude, I watched this again and I remember the spot. I don't remember how audible Shane's head was hitting the ground.
But you know what's funny about that? I said the same thing, but I think it's because, right? And maybe I'm speaking for you, and I probably should, because you know,
That's what you
whatever I say will probably be better than what you say anyway. But
Good point.
but no, seriously, I think the reason we don't remember it being as loud as it was because we didn't process the fact that that sound was his head. I literally remember that sound, that pop, and just thinking like, oh, like, you know, it was just a sound that happened on the camera, like it picked it up. But now that when they've pointed out like that was the sound of Shane's head, that's when I go, oh my God, like, just for, you know, all intents and purposes, Matt Hardy had a concussion hitting concrete this week. You didn't hear anything. And it was from like 50 feet.
Yeah.
Not 50 feet. I'm exaggerating. You hear me? I'm
No,
like,
I think it was
Hogan.
50 feet.
It's at least 140.
Something like that. He's 500 pounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hulk Hogan is.
7'4".
Yeah. Depending on the day. Sometimes he's 8 feet tall. Or is that Andre?
Giant Gonzalez.
Ah, yes.
El Gigante for you WCW fans.
Speaking of El Gigante, Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon. So, so they finally get through all the glass with like 12 suplexes or whatever it was. They're all bleeding. They're all concussed. Kurt Angle's tailbone is broken. Among other injuries, I'm sure.
I mean, he had a concussion. Yeah, how crazy is that? He had already gone into this match with a concussion, and he breaks his tailbone off of a, guess what, belly to back suplex on the ramp, or lack thereof, actually, because it was just on the flat floor with a piece of carpet. For anybody doesn't understand the aesthetic at the time, all the WWF would do was put a piece of carpet over the concrete. They didn't put padding. They didn't put anything there. So that was just to prevent skin burns. You know what I mean? Like, and he bounces off his spine bounces off of the concrete. And yeah, not good.
It's not good for anybody.
No.
That sounds like an awful time. I would hate to do that.
I've done it once or twice. It's horrible.
Have you?
Yeah.
I could tell. Still a little traumatized.
I mean, it was just 5 minutes before I got in this podcast, so.
Is that how you hype yourself up?
I figure if you don't break a bone before a podcast, do you really have the adrenaline to do it?
That's true. And if you're not adrenalized while doing a podcast, why are you even doing it?
All right, exactly. Brandon.
Exactly.
It's my co-host, by the way, for context, for people who haven't heard my podcast.
Oh, believe me, I put you over in the intro. Don't worry. That was before, actually.
That's when you had me in the sound booth, kind of like Maury, and you know, I had to find out if I was the father. Yeah, I got you.
Eagerly waiting backstage.
Yep, that baby don't look like me.
But yes, this match, awesome match. I feel like if anybody listening, if you haven't watched this match, stop what you're doing right now. Put your baby down. Tell your wife you'll be in bed later.
Punt kick your baby out of the room. Go watch this match. Don't take no excuses, because seriously, even if you don't care about the King of the Ring or anything else, you don't even care about the storylines that happened, just go watch this one match, because this is one of the best matches in like WWF history, and that's not an exaggeration. And that's freaking Shane McMahon's in there, a non-wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's crazy. It's crazy, like, to think about. I remember watching it live, thinking how good it was, but even watching it, 19 years later, which is ridiculous that it's been that long, but 19 years, it's still up there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Definitely one of my favorites. Probably top 20, maybe.
I mean, it's just right below Alundra Blaze versus Bull Nakano. So I actually have an unhealthy obsession with saying Bull Nakano randomly.
I've never heard anybody mention Bull Nakano more than you during this podcast.
I mentioned it tongue in cheek. I don't, full disclosure, I don't really care about Bull Nakano, but it's almost like my way to derail wrestling fans. I'm like, yeah, like Bull Nakano. The funny part is I tweeted something about Bull Nakano tongue in cheek, and Rachel Ellering tweeted back because she's a huge Bull Nakano fan, and told me that she has a lawn gnome of Bull Nakano for some reason, and I felt really bad.
Why does that exist?
That's the first question. And the second thing is, like, I felt really bad because I was like, I don't want to tell her I was kind of just taking the piss out of Bull Nakano here.
So now you're committed.
So now, right. So now, when this podcast episode blows up and you're famous and stuff, Rachel Ellering is going to have heat. I'm going to have heat, I should say, with Rachel Ellering. So thanks a lot.
Man, if there's anything I don't want, it's for you to have heat with Rachel Ellering specifically. That's the one thing I try to avoid with this podcast, actually.
Yeah, but you're not doing a good job at all.
Man, I'm probably doing the worst job.
But speaking of doing a good job, Kurt Angle versus Shane.
Oh, man. Look at this guy over here. Segway McGillicuddy over here.
That was my nickname in high school. Thanks for that. Thanks for reminding me.
I can tell. I see it in your eyes. I'm looking at you right now. Kurt Angle gets the win with an angle slam off the top rope.
Oh, a brutal angle slam at that.
Yeah, which is it's crazy to think that's not probably in the top 5 gnarliest bumps of the match. But still really good looking. And I don't know if you remember, but this whole angle started with Kurt Angle having the
ceremony.
Right, because he got his medals stolen from Chris Benoit. Then he won them back in a ladder match, as you do. And then he's having a ceremony on Raw. Shane is on the podium, like in the number 1 spot, and then Kurt goes and Angle slams him off of it, which is basically, I don't know if it's supposed to be foreshadowing. It probably wasn't, but in a way it kind of was, because that's basically what ended this match here, just from a higher elevation. So good little tidbit there to end this match. But yeah, good shit all around.
And again, I just want to drive the point home. No matter how good we are on the mic right now, we will not ever be able to convey how good this match was. So please just go watch it. It is amazing stuff. Yeah. And it is definitely worth the, I think it's like a 26, 27 minute match, and you'll never know that it was that long.
No, not at all. It felt 13 minutes to me when I was watching it.
It was much better than Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega at Full Gear.
You're going out on a limb there.
You know why? Without getting into a whole conversation. I always sometimes feel like less is more. And I'm like, if this same match had been an hour long, kind of like Moxley versus Omega was, and it was that hard hitting, at a certain point, you just don't want to see a human being take that much punishment.
Yeah.
And that's really what it was. So it's not a knock at that match as much as I'm like, why did it go so long?
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, we could get into it, but to not get in the weeds, that Omega Moxley match, it was just very like, why is there a barbed wire trampoline over here?
Wait, you don't have one? I have one in my backyard.
I had to get rid of it, remember, from the fight earlier. I didn't get into details about the fight. That's kind of what happened.
Well, I borrowed it from Superhuman. Fuck this shit.
Did you see, not to get on a Superhuman tangent. Fuck it. It's my podcast. Let's get on a Superhuman tangent.
Do what you want.
He posted a video recently, because I kind of tuned him out for the past couple months.
Yeah, me too.
He's become kind of big time. But he did a video where some guy took a weed whacker to his chest.
I saw that one actually. It's funny. I haven't seen him in months, and same thing. I saw that one. Maybe you retweeted it. I don't know because I saw it.
I honestly might. That sounds like a thing I'd do.
Yeah, it does sound like it. I'm like, that was stupid. So yeah, definitely something you would do. But yeah, I saw that and I'm like, I feel like people jump the shark sometimes. I'm not going to mention names, but I feel like he's done as much as he can do.
Yeah, I mean, he might still have a following. Who knows? I know he did a few like indie wrestling shows too.
But it's like when you get a following, it's like, and it's something like that. I don't know. It's like, I feel like you can expand on that and do something else.
You want him to do a fucking podcast?
Yeah, let him.
Actually, you know what? I'd listen to it.
Right. If I called this dude right now and tried to get an interview, you wouldn't listen to that interview?
Man, I hear he doesn't like interviews.
This is for all the gigolos, gigolettes. You know, he would talk his ass off.
He would make a lot of noise. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of collections.
It actually makes me feel uncomfortable listening to the sounds he makes. He makes more noise than my ex-girlfriend did.
Well, you know, I can see that.
I miss you, Susie.
I don't have trouble believing that. Did you see what was her name?
That's Susie.
Oh, I don't know why. It sounds like a stupid name to me. I don't know. I hope her name's not really Susie.
No.
It sounds like the go-to made-up name. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a Susie in real life.
You think I'm going to tell these marks and real names? Come on now.
Yeah, you're right. That's off air. That's off air. That's the Patreon kind of content.
You got to pay for that content, brother.
Yeah.
Hogan's taught me well.
That doesn't work well for me, brother.
I'm not putting Susie over.
Speaking of getting put over, WWF Championship.
I can't believe this is my fault, by the way. I said, let's do an hour. I'm pushing it past the boundaries because I'm having so much fun. So thank you for having me.
Of course. That's what this podcast is meant to be. It's just a bunch of bullshit with some wrestling sprinkled in.
You stole the premise of my podcast. Damn.
Well, trademarked. What you think about it? No third-party apps for you.
Ah, damn it. Thanks, Vince.
God damn it, Vince.
Oh, I love that AEW dig, by the way, with Kip Sabian and stuff.
Oh, the Twitch.
Yeah, full disclosure, guys. If you need to know about me, like I watched the WWF all my life, WWE, but I'm definitely like a wrestling fan, not like a WWE fan. So I say good things and bad things about both companies, and that triggers every kind of toxic fan. Because the minute you say something bad about WWE, people come out and say you're AEW mark and you like the indies and this and that. And then the minute you say something bad about AEW, it's like, go back to Uncle Vinny's dick. And like, it's like, okay, all right. Like I can't win.
Right. Nope. Everyone's got to have their tribe. If you say anything bad about my tribe, then you get a spear to the chest.
Yeah. I didn't know there was a tribe. Here's the thing, guys. I've worked a couple wrestling events here in Florida. I'm going to tell you this. The wrestlers don't take all that politicking and shit as seriously as you all do.
Nobody does.
You know what I mean? Like they care about their craft. They care about what they're doing in the ring. They care about that stuff. They don't give a shit about WWE versus AEW. They're all friends. They're all love to work with each other. So yeah.
It's just everyone needs to feel like they need to win. Sometimes people don't get they get a lot of L's during the day. So they look to the demos on Wednesday night to get their W for the day.
But look at it like this, right? Like we have two separate podcasts, both of us. And I mean, is it not fair to say that both of us would like to do better than the other? You know what I mean? Is that a bad thing? That is, we'll bring each other up by wanting both of us to, be better than each other. So competition's healthy, but it's not like I'm going to sit there and go on my podcast and bury you and say you're this and you're that and you're that. And I know you've buried me in your podcast, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But it's just like competition. People, wrestling fans in general, don't like that word. Oh, Vince McMahon's competitive. They don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
They think he's the devil for wanting to compete. It's like, how do you think he became successful?
Right.
But anyway,
for wanting to be the best.
Right.
He can't want to be the best.
Like I know I'm getting off track, but there were talks about WWE wanting to do events with fans. And everyone's like, Vince McMahon doesn't care about the health of people and this, and this. And it's like, guys, of course he's going to be optimistic about having fans eventually. And of course he's going to walk in and say, damn it, I want fans back next week. And that'll be misconstrued by a reporter saying Vince McMahon wants to bring fans back next week. And it's like, no, he's just frustrated. Like, damn it, let's get fans in next week. Like, let's find a way, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That old telephone game. Same thing with the third party app. Whole fiasco. I feel like they just got expanded and ballooned up way more than.
I think Stephanie said it. I think Stephanie, because she actually talked about it, you know, a couple days ago, I guess. But she said something about, you know, wrestlers have more freedom than they ever did, and she's kind of correct. I almost had to think about that. I'm like, yeah, she's correct. They're letting them do all of this stuff, but now the boundaries are, if you're going out and getting deals, third-party deals without our consent, you got to understand who you work for and understand that we own your likeness, especially if you're going to go advertise under your WWE Twitter with a product that we've not gotten a cut of, and you're taking us out of that deal. So it's like, almost from a business aspect, I was like, I kind of understand what their point is now. Mm-hmm. So I know I just got heat. Yeah. I just got heat with everybody, but that's okay.
I think my listeners will understand.
Ah, okay.
They're used to being mad at me, so.
Gotcha. Hi, Susie. I heard my ex-girlfriend listens to your podcast.
She was my number one fan, actually.
Wow, that's messed up.
I think she's the only one that listens.
I'll say my heart's kind of broken right now.
You'll probably get over it.
Never will. Never will.
None of us ever do we?
The one that got away.
Just end this podcast crying.
Yeah, that's it. Cliffhanger.
I like that. But we can't end it until we
Austin Benoit and Jericho. I don't know how this happened. That was the worst one yet.
I gave you the alley and you bungled the oop.
Oh man, I'm playing a different sport now. You know, I'm in a completely different realm. But yeah, I mean, Stone Cold's the champion here. Like you said, you know, I think Triple H would have been involved in this one because remember, there was the, you know, it was supposed to, the match he got injured in was Jericho Benoit versus Triple H and Austin.
So what I've heard, I forget where I heard this. It could be bullshit. But
Fatal 4-Way?
It would have been Triple H and Chris Benoit in a program, and then Stone Cold and Jericho in a one-on-one.
Okay, I can see that. I can see this being a Fatal 4-Way for one reason, though, because it would have been that anomaly of, like, you know, Triple H and Austin had lost the titles kind of thing, and then it's like they could work together, but maybe turn on each other, you know. So I kind of have this feeling that maybe that's the route, but you're kind of maybe onto something because this has 7 matches when traditionally they have 8.
Yep.
So perhaps you're right.
But to your point, that makes sense because Triple H kind of cost them the tag titles. So this could have been his way to make up for that and helping Steve Austin retain. But there's also the added caveat is he going to help Austin or is he going to turn on him for his own gain? So I feel like that could have been something good too.
Yeah. And I feel like this match, because of the circumstances, because it was the Kurt Angle show, I barely remember this match. As in, like, I know this was a good one, but it's like I barely remember it.
It was okay. And I think what really hurt it was the fact that it followed
the street fight. Yeah.
Because the crowd was zorped after that street fight. So they weren't dead. I'm not going to say they were dead, but they were definitely not as lively
enthused
as they were earlier in the show. Enthused. There's the word.
It's a good word.
It's a great word. And you could tell that, and that kind of, in my opinion, that hindered the match a lot. Even though everything they were doing technically in the ring was solid, I feel like it just had no heat to it. And the ending was, well, I guess before the ending, we got to mention the 5-time. 5-time. 5-time.
That's 3.
5-time. 5-time WCW champion.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. Oof. Held my breath on that one. Oh, that one hurt.
You're on the brink of death there.
Oof.
I feel the blue in your face.
Not just my face.
And your shaft. All right.
My balls.
How do you get a blue shaft? Anyways, so Booker T.
Yeah, blue balls was what I was going for. That would have made a lot more sense. Damn it! Come on, keep up with me.
What about? I'll edit that in post.
Please, thank you.
It's the goals of doing a not live podcast.
I don't know how you do
it. Fuck. And then Booker T comes in, breaks Stone Cold's hand, and then leaves. Somehow he broke his hand. It does like a backdrop onto the announcer's
he kind of missed the table a little bit here. Austin actually hurt his neck and stuff off of this too. Right. So Austin got a hurt neck, off of this, and it was I guess it got Booker T a little bit of heat because he didn't protect. It was like the WCW champion not protecting the WWF champion kind of thing. Because remember, for all intents and purposes, that's what this was. The WCW champion attacking the top guy in WCW, attacking the top guy in the WWF. So don't lose sight of that.
It's a very good point. You should just end the podcast there.
Yeah, great point. Send it right there.
What happened is that they didn't get rid of the top of the announce table. They didn't get rid of the monitors. So I think that's what led to the injury.
I think he just like slid off of that because that is just a big plastic piece.
Yeah, I mean, because I watched it back and it didn't even look that bad, but it's fucking these bulky monitors they had back then. They'll cause some damage.
Oh my god! Like I don't know how they used those so long. I don't think they replaced those until like 2016 or so. And it was like, why did you still have the bulky monitors? And then actually for a while, go watch this Rumble 2016. Rusev takes the big monitor and leaves for some odd reason because he's Rusev and he just does whatever he wants. By the way, he tweeted out, I don't know why I remember this, but he tweeted out, "I am the TV champion, not your stupid American monitor." It's just like Rusev is a lot better than he ever was given a chance to be on WWE TV, and he still hit it out of the park. But what was I going to say? Yeah, so for a while they actually put LED screens, like little thin ones, inside of this big plastic casing to mimic those old monitors. And then finally they just said, okay, just put the thin ones on top of the table, which is easier for people to clear out.
Right. Only makes sense.
Exactly. And if somebody goes, if this same thing had happened in previous years, like in current times, I should say, Austin probably wouldn't have gotten his hurt because they would have just cleared out the monitors. Even if he hit him, he wouldn't have just hurt his neck off of it.
Yeah, the whiplash or whatever did it.
Absolutely,
that's crazy. But
if you hear like a whole storm going on, that's definitely on my end.
The only storm I hear is your beautiful voice.
Thank you. God, you're so sweet. I see why she likes you.
That's what this podcast is about.
That's why she was scratching at the door.
Yeah, that's why I use her to clean my floors. Let's see, where are we at here? So Booker T comes in with his $1,000 shirt and his baggy pants, ruins the top star in the company, and then leaves. Anyways, fucking then the match continues, whatever happens, and then the ending was so weird because it was so Benoit has Jericho on the top rope, and he hits he hits Jericho with a back suplex, and then Austin just kind of crawls over like a minute later and pins Benoit, and then it's over.
Let's talk about why that was weird. Benoit broke his neck off of that move, off that suplex.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they called an audible?
And not only that, but think about this. Austin has already hurt his neck, so he doesn't know what the hell's going on with him. Benoit's hurt, so it's like, what do you really do off of that? They probably had like a spot plan. Maybe he hits a stunner or something. Austin couldn't move. Benoit couldn't move. So they're just like, pin the fucking guy and call it a day.
Yeah.